This is Innovating Leadership, Co-Creating Our Future. I'm your host, Maureen Metcalf, founder and CEO of the Innovative Leadership Institute, where we help leaders be future ready. Helping us in that mission today is Dave Levy, Vice President of Amazon Web Services Worldwide Public Sector. We'll be talking about how public sector customers are innovating with generative AI responsibly and securely. Dave, we're glad you're with us today.
Happy to be here. Really a pleasure.
So let's start with talking about you as a leader and then go into what AWS and AWS public sector are doing. So what's your leadership philosophy?
Philosophy. Wow. Well, look, I would say at Amazon, and I've been at Amazon for 7 years, and before that worked for a number of companies. And, I would say that it really starts with, trying to identify and hire the best people that you can. And there's a lot of fantastic people, a lot of fantastic leaders, a lot of talented people out there. But you really want to figure out, if you can, how to hire the best people that you can for your business or for your industry. And then for us in particular at Amazon, we like to think that we hire people who are missionaries. And they're really here to have a major impact on customers. Customers are wonderfully dissatisfied a lot. And if you're oriented towards being a missionary and you're customer obsessed, you're going to have to adapt to change. And you're going to have to react to customers' changing needs and wants and conditions. And so part of how I lead is through those sorts of lenses of being a missionary, of being obsessed with customers, constantly wanting to do better and deliver more for customers. And the industry that we're in is going to change. You have to accept that fact that it's constantly changing, and you have to grow and learn with it. And the last thing I'll say is one of our leadership principles at Amazon is learn and be curious. And it's a great opportunity to really continue to reinvent yourself as a leader, to reinvent yourself as someone who helps customers through their challenges, is to constantly be learning and be curious about as much as you can. And so I try to lead. I try to lead by example in that way, and I also try to encourage my teams to lean into that.
Beautiful. And as you said, especially public sector, and this matters for all of us because it keeps us safe. And our public sector, with increasing of sophistication with hackers, especially with generative AI, there are more ways to go after our government than there used to be. And the services AWS provides to keep our platform safe are foundational to our society functioning effectively.
Yeah, I think so. And look, the pace at which the world is changing today, the amount of things that are happening around us is accelerating. And we have a saying at Amazon. Speed matters. Speed matters disproportionately so. And the speed with which you solve problems, the speed at which you're able to scale, all of these things matter in delivery of citizen services, delivery of protecting your citizens and protecting your stakeholders. All of this speed really, really matters. And cloud enables that flexibility to go with speed.
Well, and back to your comment about curiosity, that ability when things seem upended, I can either be cranky or I can be curious. It seems like those are my options, right? Like, damn it, this thing happened again. Or I wonder why this thing happened again. What are my opportunities here?
Sometimes I feel myself being both cranky and curious. I allow myself to be cranky and curious.
It is often a both.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the biggest challenges your customers face And how is technology like AI helping to solve those problems?
Yeah, I think, broadly speaking, and we, in my organization, we have tens of thousands of public sector customers across the world. And those public sector customers are governments, they're education institutions, they're um, nonprofits of all types and sizes and missions. They are um, also healthcare organizations across the world. And, those organizations are looking to be secure, they're looking to be resilient, they're looking for flexibility, uh, they're looking to move faster in some cases, and you know, in the frame of the government, they're looking to create experiences for their citizens uh, that that they can deliver on. And we're all consumers of what public sector organizations deliver, whether it's education or whether it's a service from government. And our customers are looking to do that and do increasingly do that at scale, a better experience that you would have um, with your government organization or with
Mhm.
your educational institution, and so they're looking to do that, and they're also looking at to take advantage of newer technologies in a safe and responsible way. And generative AI and AI in general, they're really powerful tools. But I will say all of this really starts with cloud, because the cloud offers a high degree of automation. It can reduce cost. It can improve efficiency. You can collaborate across your organization. You can share data. All of that leads to things like improved decision making, innovation, and adaptability. And so, artificial intelligence, generative and increasingly generative AI, the foundation of that really is cloud.
And I assume that also ensures computing power, because my understanding is generative AI takes a lot of computing power.
It does, and if we're talking about generative AI, our point of view is that there's really three layers of the generative AI stack. And at the bottom layer, you have really model training, and that's the training and inference of models, and that's where you hear a lot about cost and computing power and the cost to train a model. There's also some other things going on. There's some supply issues there around these sorts of technologies, and so what we've done is we've created some of our own customized chips to address some of those issues. Trainium, which is for training models, and Inferentia, which is for the inferences. And so on that bottom layer of the stack, and there's been a lot of talk in just recently about generative AI. Most of that discussion has been about the application layer, hence where you hear a lot about chat GPT and technologies like that at the application layer. But at that bottom layer, we see customers training models and doing inference, and that's where a lot of computing power is required. In the middle layer, what you have is you've got a situation like ours where you have a product like Bedrock where you can bring many models. An organization can bring many models in as well as their own data and combine that in an architecture to really support doing generative AI and getting the predictions out of it from many sources of data. And you can do that securely. You can do it without putting your own data in a situation where it's available to others, it's only available to you. And then at the top layer, that's the application layer. And we build a lot of applications, but I think there's going to be applications built by many, many parties that are going to develop new ideas and new innovations that we haven't even thought of yet. Like, I'll give you an example. Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, and they're a world leader in cancer treatment. They built a new research solution using Claude model on Amazon Bedrock, and it helps clinicians in the interpretation of certain lab results that can be particularly complicated to understand. And so this solution is really designed to provide fast and accurate analysis and aid clinicians in the diagnosis of medical conditions, assessment of treatment, and determinations of the next steps in clinical care. And that's just an example of like what's possible with generative AI. We're really just at the very beginning of these technologies.
I appreciate hearing about the three different layers because we don't often talk about the foundation at all and rarely talk about the second layer. Although, when we think about healthcare institutions, national labs, universities, places that require privacy, that are training models to meet their unique customer needs, security is paramount.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, we at AWS, we want to play a key role in democratizing these sorts of services, like democratizing machine learning, making it accessible to anyone who wants to use it, democratizing access to generative AI services, like I described in that middle layer. And so our goal is to make it safe and practical and cost effective for public sector, and to successfully build and deploy generative AI solutions on that top layer and build applications that will really help deliver on their mission.
It sounds like that top layer is only possible with the foundation and the second layer. Otherwise, the applications themselves don't function. They're not grounded in anything.
Well, that's true, and I would also add that I don't. There's not going to be one model that rules them all. I mean, we have our own models. There's lots of really great models that are being trained, and there will be more to come. And I think we're again. I would just emphasize. I think we're in the very beginning of this phase, and but I think what you said is really key. Security is key. Responsible AI is key. Um, and we're really working closely with our customers on things like that. We're committed to developing AI responsibly. We take a people-centered approach, prioritizing education, and with our customers, and we want to integrate responsible AI across all of that life cycle that I described.
So you've said responsible AI about 6 times in the last sentence. So it doesn't escape me. How do you and how does AWS define responsible? Because my assumption is we as a business community, government community, and society, and even different countries are defining responsible differently. And with AWS functioning globally, how do you even navigate defining what is responsible in such a complicated environment?
Well, I think it's going to be a collaboration, and I think responsible AI is going to be a collaboration between government and industry to support the safe, secure, and responsible development of all of these technologies. And so, um, you know, we're at Amazon, we're dedicated to driving innovation on behalf of our customers and consumers, but we're also very convicted about establishing and implementing safeguards to protect them. And I think that's going to be a continuing collaboration between government and industry for many years to come. And again, I think this people-centric approach that I mentioned is really important. It's critical because I think getting as many people involved in learning about AI, understanding AI is going to be part of how we develop responsible AI for all of us going forward. Education is going to be education and a people-centric approach is going to be one of the primary things that help us get there.
So, will you elaborate a little bit on both the education and people centric? Because right now, I think Amazon's doing a lot in the education space, and it's so new that I can't just go to my local a few universities have programs, but it's not ubiquitous yet.
Yeah, we're doing things like we announced something called AI Ready, and that's a new commitment to provide free AI skills to 2 million people globally by 2025. And so we've launched a few initiatives designed for all ages and all levels of knowledge to hope to get at this problem. And so we 8 new and free AI, generative AI courses. We've got AWS Generative AI Scholarship. So that's providing more than 50,000 high school and university students globally with access to a new generative AI course on Udacity. And then we've got a new collaboration with code.org designed to help students learn about generative AI. And we're focusing on helping students from underrepresented and underserved communities get access to generative AI education. And I think these are also foundational elements. I can tell you just on a personal note, I don't want to go back too far because I would date myself, but when I was in high school, one of my high schools was one of the few that had access in the 80s to a computer lab. And it made all the difference in the world for me and the students that got a chance to participate back then and for my career. And it's through these types of programs we want to remove barriers to accessing these sorts of critical skills.
So next is AI leadership skills.
Yeah.
Now that we teach our people to do it, now we have to teach our leaders to do it.
Well, we can help with that too. I mean, I think part of this is one of the most exciting times in technology, and I've again, I don't want to date myself, but I've been around technology a long time, and this is one of the most exciting times. And I do see leaders across public sector embracing the discussion. And I think that's a good thing. It's a good that they're embracing the discussion and having the discussion because, we believe that this is going to reinvent nearly every customer experience. And it's a great opportunity for leaders to get involved and understand how that's going to happen and what sorts of things they should be considering and thinking about.
And back to the curiosity and sometimes frustration that there is an opportunity for those who are embracing.
Yeah. Sure.
And not that we don't still have frustration.
Yeah. Back to the crankiness part.
So you also talked about people-centric. Now that you're training people, talk a little bit more about the people-centric part of this.
Well, I think, like I said, I think generative AI has the potential to transform every customer experience. And so there are going to be opportunities and innovations that, we haven't even thought of yet. And giving people the training to understand what generative AI is, what the possibilities are, and then providing the infrastructure in a way that's organized for people to go do that is going to allow this invention and reinvention and transformation. And so I think there are a few keys we see. One is empowering decision makers with data. Generative AI can process and analyze vast amounts of data, and so faster and more efficiently than a human could. And so empowering decision makers with data and this understanding is going to be critical. I think the other thing is it's going to help speed up research. Faster drug discovery, more accurate detection, more efficient treatment. And again, this people-centric approach of helping people understand what are the possibilities, more personalized and convenient services. Chatbots can handle routine citizen inquiries, so that employees can focus on more complex tasks while also improving customer service experience. Generative AI can improve productivity. You can apply it to repetitive tasks. So the humans can focus on higher level priorities. An example of that would be like an agency could use it to augment workflows like document processing or case management or something like that. And so it's going to be not just It's going to be about helping people understand what are the use cases and what are the possibilities. And there's a great example in the UK where the Swindon Borough Council used generative AI, and they created this solution that basically converts complex documents like a tenancy agreement into easy read format, and people with learning disabilities can get access to these tenancy agreements. It could also help with low literacy skills or cognitive impairment. And so, this organization is going to open source the solution. So, you think about the implications of that for citizens' access, and it's a really compelling and exciting time. So, helping people understand the possibilities here and getting them to learn about what it would take, it's going to allow them to convert ideas like this into action.
Yeah, the place I go is medical research.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that it's also helping learning, and for people who are not typical in the learning space, giving support material so people can live independently is huge.
There are just so many opportunities. I mean, you talk about research, just to jump in there. The Allen Institute is using AI to build the first ever map of the human brain. And so providing insight into brain disease and why conditions like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's occur. And, the plan is to leverage generative AI to help researchers simulate brain processes and speed up discoveries. And so, computing power, generative AI, these are all at the forefront of this sort of research.
And I'm working with cancer researchers and what they can do now just with the access to compute power. And imagine a future where there is no cancer, or
Yeah.
people are not dying of cancer. It's an illness that you get that gets then cured.
Yeah.
Because I assume most of our listeners have had someone who's touched by just that one disease, and then amplify that out to every disease we have.
Yeah. What a wonderful vision. I mean, and it's something we can all agree on, that it's a global issue for all of us. And we've got technologies now that can help us get there faster.
Well, and then another one, because now that people aren't going to die of cancer, we need more food. So, what is the mechanism where we can then use sensors and AI to adjust food production? I mean, there are just so many ways that this ripples through our entire economic structure and our infrastructure.
Yeah, look, I think we're in the very early days of this wave, and I think again with the cost of computing resources coming down, the scale of cloud, the ideas that are out there in the world, and you start to get excited about the possibilities for sure.
I uh, in these little imagining exercises, I'm incredibly excited. And yet I recognize a lot of people aren't yet ready to embrace it. From a leadership organization, from a leadership perspective, how can organizations accelerate the pace of embracing it? And what's needed for them to get started? And you've mentioned the Technology Foundation. How do you work with your clients to help them get excited about it?
Yeah, I think in a number of ways. I mean, I think the first is the foundation is cloud. And just fundamentally, you're not going to get to the promise of generative AI without moving to the cloud and moving your data to the cloud and getting it in a place where it's accessible, where it's secure, where it's readable and healthy, and in a place where you can apply computing power to it, where you can combine it with models, where you can maybe perhaps start to create your own large language model based on your data. You can use other large language models, but nobody knows you like you. And so step one is really helping organizations on their strategy to move to cloud. I would say the other thing is, we've got a lot of partnerships out there, and we're cultivating even more. One, we just recently announced a new AI focused, kind of what we call Cloud Innovation Center at Arizona State. And that center will help global public sector customers use AI to address their challenges. And any nonprofit or education or government organization can apply to work on a challenge at one of our Cloud Innovation Centers. And we offer things like no cost technical expertise, prototyping, help them define use cases. And so, good success there already. We've already helped create a chatbot that delivers real-time support on cybersecurity or query medical documents. And so partnerships, I think, are going to be critical, and we encourage those. And then I mentioned training and upskilling. The workforce of tomorrow has to be ready. It really is the most transformative technology of our generation, but we'll only maximize that potential if we bring along the brightest minds from all walks of life. And so we want to make sure that anyone with the desire to learn can access this next generation technology. And so like some of the programs I mentioned earlier, like AI Ready, to help 2 million people, that's one way. We've got a big focus on the students in all communities. We committed to help 29 people get free cloud computing by 2025, and we've already helped more than 21 million. So we're almost there on that pledge. And I think those are three foundational ways we're helping customers.
One of the things that as I'm listening to you strikes me is because this is such a game changer, it has the opportunity to, I wish I could say erase, but reduce the gap between haves and have-nots. I don't know that that's the right wording, but areas where people didn't traditionally have access because their parents didn't have access and their grandparents didn't have access, by making this available to all communities, underrepresented communities, and creating a pathway seems like it, again, creates a very different future than many people could have imagined based on their past.
I think you're exactly right. And the democratization of this technology and these tools is a critical element of that. And, like I mentioned earlier, just in a more personal example, I was fortunate enough to have access to, personal computers and an early look at programming languages. And I just got excited and inspired by it as a young person. And it's literally, set my life and trajectory in a way that might not have gone otherwise. And I had access to it. And you can take your ideas, and those ideas can come from anywhere. I mean, they can come from anywhere in any community, anywhere around the world, and they're there today. And getting that access is really critical, and having that access be affordable, having the training will help unleash those ideas. And we're extremely committed to that. And we think that that's the way that we're going to continue to innovate as a world, and it's going to accelerate productivity.
I love the idea of democratization, that you mentioned the best and brightest, and I agree we need the best and brightest working on our biggest challenges. And there's also a don't leave behind, and you've talked about people who have learning disabilities and other folks who are also being brought forward based on either your training or the technology itself and the applications.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there are so many examples of opportunities around the world. I heard about we had an education technology company in India called Bri Books, and it's like a creative writing platform for children, and children of all ages to learn creative writing and publish their books online and sell printed books on demand. And Um, and, they're using generative AI to develop Breeboo, which is an AI assistant, and it helps young learners with their writing. And so here's an opportunity to do creative writing and for people of all um, abilities to get access, people of all backgrounds to get access. And so, um, what's in your mind you can create. And generative AI and education technology platforms like Brightbooks are helping us.
It does create the image of a very different possible future. So, how can AWS help government organizations use generative AI in a way that's secure, responsible, and cost effective? And when I think of government, because I've had a security clearance, secure really hits me as crucial that we do have technologies that won't be open source. Especially military weapons shouldn't
Yeah.
be open source. So
Yeah.
secure seems foundational, but then adding to that responsible and cost effective seems like the trifecta.
Yeah. Well, we have, I mentioned before, we have millions and millions of customers at AWS, and security is everyone's job at this company, and so it's built into everything that we do. It's built into the way that we approach every conversation with customers. It's our top priority. For ourselves and for customers and partners around the world. And so, we believe, and I talked about the model that we had earlier. We believe a couple of things are important. One, you have to build a system that's secure, uh, that's scalable, and that your security scales with it. But also, too, just really protects the integrity of your data, and that you're not losing provenance over your own data. And we've got a lot of tools, and we offer customers a lot of different tools to help support them to secure their infrastructure and secure their data and secure their applications. And then we offer a lot of support to do that. We offer a lot of training. We offer a lot of professional services, a lot of architecture support, we are helping enable the mission of public sector customers around the world. And so their success, their ability to deliver on their mission is critical, and in some cases, very high stakes. And so we take that very seriously, and we work with our customers every day to make sure that they've got the best security that the cloud can provide.
So, given what we're talking about and the layers of security and the impact of security, layers of technology, impact of security, and cost effective, that it
Yeah.
super secure, but I can't afford it, not helpful. Um, we've talked about responsibility, we've talked a lot about education. Let's go back and talk a little bit more about leadership. And we were joking about curious and annoyed. As we talk about and we're seeing or will see just world changing opportunities. And yet, for each of those opportunities, the leaders we're working with have to be willing to embrace them, to leverage the opportunity, to actually have them happen, to materialize them, versus wouldn't it be nice, but not me? Or, I'm worried about the Terminator, or whatever range of concerns people appropriately have in their context. How do you help folks move beyond what may be very well grounded fears to to set that aside in favor of where we cure cancer?
We do a lot of work around understanding what our customers are trying to accomplish. And I say one of the things that I think is unique about Amazon is we're very focused on inventing with our customers or inventing on their behalf. And other companies have strategies, and those strategies can work. But for us, it really is about what customers want. And, our fundamental approach is to understand what customers want and what they're looking for from us. And then we work backwards from that. We work backwards with them on delivering what it is that they want. And, new technology often transforms the way we work and live, but it also creates demand for all sorts of new skill sets and leads to all sorts of innovations. And public sector organizations are looking for that too. They're looking for ways to reinvent. If you're a nonprofit, you may be looking for ways to reinvent the donor experience. If you're a researcher, you may be looking for ways, like you and I have talked about, to end cancer for everybody. And generally leaders get on board with that. Leaders are oriented that way as well too. And so when you talk about the possibilities and you talk about the opportunities to do this sorts of transformation at the leadership level, you often don't get disagreement that that's where you want to go. And I see our role is helping them understand, well, how do we do that? How do we do it responsibly? How do we do it where we're managing resources the right way, costs and resources in a healthy way? And I see our role as helping leaders understand that there's a way to do that, and that cloud is fundamental to making that happen.
So I'm going to go completely off script as I'm thinking about some of my clients. Many of them are not yet well versed in AI, don't even know what's possible. None of us may know what's possible, but folks who are just heads down focusing on running their business haven't given this much thought yet. Is there an organizational structure? Like, do we have a chief AI officer? Do we need AI skills on boards? And government similarly, should agencies have chief AI officers? I know we have chief technology officers, chief information officers. Who helps move the organization forward is really the underpinning of that question.
Well, I do think governance is really important. And, whether you're a hospital system or a nonprofit, and I do think the notion that you'd have a skills-based board, and if it's possible, and that you'd have talent on that board that has either a background already in these sorts of technologies or has done some work or some thinking in it, I think that is a good recommendation. If I'm advising a board today and they're starting to think about these things, I'm saying, if you don't have a skills-based board, then maybe bringing on some talent that has a background here would be really helpful. On kind of the C-suite side, absolutely. And this can take different forms. I mean, you can have a chief technology officer who can also serve as she can serve as the chief digital officer. But again, it's a skills-based thing, and you have to bring on folks, I think, who've got some experience here, but also have got some ability to understand what you're going to need in terms of governance and security and what the use cases are. We often find that real progress happens when you've got top-down leadership. When you've got the folks at the top that are convicted and they've made some decisions about this is the way we're going to go, and they set the vision, they set the governance, they bring the talent in, and then they tell the organization to go. Those are the organizations that really make progress versus the ones that seem to just talk about it and don't really get moving on it. And so that senior leadership and that governance is really, really critical in getting moving in this area.
So I want to amplify what you just said because it's so crucial as we're looking at the percentage of organizations that will be out of business in the next decade. And it's something like 40%. Vision, governance, talent, execution.
Yes.
And that resonates as absolutely fundamental, and none of those can be excluded You don't have talent, you're not going to execute. You don't have governance, you're not executing effectively to the end that meets the vision. And you don't have a vision, you are likely to be off track.
Yeah, those are all leadership functions, and we work with a lot of leaders. We help support leaders, and you know, this move to AI and generative AI is not going to be in one industry. It's not going to be one company. It's going to be a whole of industry and a whole of public sector approach. I think I mentioned a little bit earlier about the collaboration. It's really critical to us that public sector and industry collaborate on these sorts of things. And there'll be lots of upskilling programs and training programs. It's going to take industry to do that, particularly in public sector. But it's going to be a critical part of the future, and we spend a lot of time with leaders talking to them about this.
We recently published a book on leadership and followership in the age of AI, and one of the organizations that two of the authors came from is the Uniformed Services University.
Sure,
So,
uses.
yeah.
Yeah.
So USIS is, at least in collaboration with us, heavily involved in creating the leadership and followership thinking in AI, which is really exciting for us to have that kind of collaboration.
Yeah. I've been working with government for a long time, and I want customers to move faster because I see the opportunity. And you talked a little bit about national security. We also get visibility into some of the things going on around the world. So I think it's critical that government moves fast in this area for a number of reasons. And I like programs like we have a program here called Bridge, which we bring in fellows from government, from organizations like QSIS, where they spend a period of time with us. They learn about industry. They learn a little bit about Amazon culture and our way of innovating, and they take that back to their roles in government and public sector. And those are exciting programs. I get to speak to those cohorts, and they're all leaders, but they also become the future leaders, the future even bigger leaders of organizations. And I think programs like that are going to be even more critical as we start to embrace this across the world. But look, I'm super proud of governments across the world from what I see, and I'm really proud of how thoughtful they are about these emerging technologies. Amazing professionals we have across the world in government, and I believe we'll get there. It's never fast enough, but I do believe we'll get there, and we'll get there in a way that's healthy and responsible and innovative and safe and secure. So I can't say enough about how amazing some of our public sector customers and partners are.
Thank you, Dave. This has been an amazingly insightful conversation. And for our leaders, I want to go back and again re-amplify the idea of vision, governance, talent, execution, that there is a top down and a bottom up, but we don't get there without the top.
Agree, totally. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. This has just been a delightful conversation, and I do encourage our listeners to explore more about what you're doing.
Great. Thank you.
How would people learn more? I realize there's, a little known website called Amazon.com, but how would they learn more specifically about what you're doing?
Nobody I know ever visits that website. I think the most traffic comes from my own house. The signal's coming from inside of the house on that one. But you can go to AWS, our website in AWS. We have a public sector website that's got use cases. It's got information about. It's got success stories. It's got all sorts of great information about products and services, and so that would be a great way to start. Blogs. I've got a couple of blogs up that you can read about, and if you just go to if you Google AWS public sector, are probably the top hit there, and you can go start learning and being curious.
And you also mentioned the partnership with Arizona State, the
Yeah, Arizona.
Innovation Center.
Yeah, our Cloud Innovation Center.
How would people learn about that?
Same thing. You can find that. You can find that on our website, and we've got a lot of information about our. We call them KICs, Cloud Innovation Center. We call it a KIC, and then tons of information about what we're doing there together with Arizona State.
Beautiful. I am an adamant supporter of junior achievement, and I can imagine that kind of a collaboration where young people are learning about AI in the junior achievement space would be phenomenal.
It's really remarkable. I had the chance to spend some time in Canada at a university where we have a similar type of center, and we were rededicating the effort that we had there. And so all the students had little booths set up where they were demonstrating applications that they had built. And I was blown away. I mean, I couldn't even get to the program because I wanted to stay and just hear what these young achievers, what they'd come up with was just, mind blowing. And just the ideas that were coming out and then what they had built. And they built, in this particular case, they built some applications on AWS. And I could have spent all day there. The power, the ideas, the thinking, and just to see it unleashed, particularly in young students, was quite remarkable.
The hope for the future generation when we see things like that is high.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you, Dave, for all you're doing.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully I wasn't too cranky. You have me back?
We would love to have you back.
All right. Awesome.